How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good? We'll
Good.
give it a couple of minutes to just get some people to join. And then generally what I'll do too is I will download this after and then
Mhm.
I'll load it to my YouTube podcast. And then I'll go ahead and post the link probably this weekend. And then
Yeah,
we can go and share that again. So anybody that you want that didn't get a chance to see it can go back and watch it on YouTube.
yeah, that sounds good to me.
How's everything going?
It's going pretty good. Pretty good. A lot to do.
How's your ARC signups doing? You're still looking for some, right?
I know it kind
Okay.
of turned into a little bit of a it was a whole thing. Basically, I didn't realize that you couldn't send out like it to the Kindle in a big batch. So then my email got blocked and then I couldn't send out my arcs. So I was like, so I had to make a backup email because my email was completely flagged from doing anything. But it was okay.
So you're
It
done.
ended
You're
up being
you're
good.
not taking any more add-ons in, right, for the arc? Okay.
Nope, I am full for the arc.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now with the beta side for my book, but I'm doing it all by email rather than trying to send it out. I said, I haven't done it that way, so I didn't want to take a chance at and
Mm-hmm.
have any issues. So I'm just doing
Yeah,
it on the email side.
yeah. If you ever do decide to do that, just know you cannot send more than 15 at a time, or it will completely flag your email and you cannot send anything for like a
Okay,
week.
that's that's good to know since I've never done that.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's joining. We're just going to go another minute or so, and then we'll get started.
I can send it to some peeps.
How you doing, Dome? Yeah, we'll give him one more minute, then we'll get going. But like I said, I will download this and then I'll have thank you, Dom. I appreciate that. I'll have a link that we can go ahead and share later on for anybody who didn't get a chance either watch the whole thing or watch it at all. So this way
Awesome,
we can
yeah.
still get it out there.
Yeah, that works great for me. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay, I think we can get started. We do have a couple here.
Yeah.
For those joining today, I want to introduce you to author Danny Burns. We're going to talk about her books, who she is, what she's been working on. For those that don't know me, which probably are a lot of you as well, I do have a YouTube podcast where I do interview primarily indie authors, but I interview other authors as well called Between Authors. That comes out every Friday on YouTube, and I usually make a post that has the link to that. For those of you that have seen it, author Luna Alva will be tomorrow as the interview that's going to be posted. And then again, for those of you that are watching this and can watch the whole thing or have missed this, I will download this, load this to the YouTube podcast, and then post a link so you can go back and watch that as well. And for those again that are interested, next Friday, as of right now, I'm going to have author T. Farrell as well, and we'll be going over her work and what she has coming up. So, why don't we begin here, Danny? Why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers? Just give them kind of an idea about who you are if they don't follow you and don't know who you are and kind of what you're about.
Um, I'm Danny Burns. I am an indie author. As of right now, I am publishing my debut novel. It's called Dreaming Among Shadows. I do prefer fantasy books, so that is also what I write. I love fantasy. I love to escape, and that is just my chosen field. I make really funny skits about my book, or at least I think they're funny. That's what matters, right? I think it's funny. Um, I don't know. I have a lot of great people over there, so if you ever want to come check it out, you're welcome.
Perfect. And then, one of the things, because again, this is a live version of a podcast I do on YouTube. One of the things I always like to ask the authors is influences, right? And what influences you as an author or creatively? And it doesn't necessarily have to be authors and books. It could be music, movies, art, anything creatively that's inspired you to do what you do or in the past.
Um, I mean, I have a lot of inspirations. I read a lot of fantasy, or I used to, not so much right now because my brain is so clogged with my stuff. But
Yep.
um, like I love Sarah J. Maas's books, Rebecca Yaros's books. The first fantasy book that I ever remember reading is by Jennifer Frost, and I really like her books still. I just mostly read those. I listen to music while I write. I just have a playlist. I don't really know specific people. I just, if I hear a song and it reminds me of a character or whatever, I just stick in a playlist and I put my headphones in and just zone out into my world.
Yep. Have you done a Spotify playlist for your book, or because I know a lot of authors have been doing that?
I mean, I have one. I just haven't linked it on anything. It's just what I listen to while I write, but I do have one. Two of them. I have one for my FMC and one for my MMC because it is a dual POV book.
Okay. And then, what would you consider yourself? A lot of us are kind of a hybrid. Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Or like I said, a hybrid in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, I'm a hybrid too. Basically, what I do is I plot out like the main point that I want the chapter to be, and as long as that point is getting there, I just let them run rampant.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure for you too, I do very little plotting as well. It's all pantsing on that side, but it's very interesting when you let the story just kind of flow on its own, and it really kind of sometimes is the better story than what you plotted out because you're just organically letting it go where it wants to go.
It really is insane the amount that your characters just run the show. Like, yes, they're technically your characters and come from your mind, but they really like they do stuff that pisses me off so much. And like it
Yeah.
feels so out of your control. Like you don't control your characters most of the time. They do what they're gonna do and you just hope that the story gets to where it needs to be.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, there was another author that mentioned it really feels like you're taking dictation sometimes, right? They're telling you what to write and you're just writing it and going along with it.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, again, I don't know if this is correct, but one of the things I've always thought is some of what writer's block I think could be is when you do plot something, say very thoroughly, and then you try to stay to that plot and not let it organically grow. I've always felt that that may be where you start coming into some problems because the story may want to take a turn and you're trying to keep it where you wanted it to go rather than where the story itself wants to take itself. And I just feel that that sometimes restricts you and you're just having trouble staying on that path where the story itself is just already left that path.
Yeah, a good example of that for me is I do write spicy books, and this first spicy scene that happens in my book was absolutely not planned. Absolutely not. And I was a little bit mad when it was happening. I was like, what are you doing? But, and then it worked out, and I was like, okay, fine. I guess you were meant to do that. But, like, still, I'm a little mad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when the story takes its turns, right? When it starts going in its own direction and you're just following along, it's very similar. The way I think about it is like everyday life in general, right? When you have a character that meets somebody unexpected, a new friend, a new coworker, whatever, it changes maybe a path you're going on. You make a decision, you make a choice, and you're no longer on that original path you're on. And it's very similar to the story where you may be writing something, and a lot of authors, and I don't know if it happened to you, but a lot of authors say, I had a character that was supposed to be for a scene and never left. Right now it's another main character. And it's very similar. Somebody that just kind of happened to meet, and then before you know it, it's just somebody you're talking to all the time, every day, seeing. And it's very similar. Those paths are very similar in terms of a story and real life. And I always think that's kind of what happens when you try to plot it. Is it's just very difficult to stay on that and just not let it grow the way it wants to.
Yep, when you are on that path with your characters and it takes a left turn, you just need to follow it and see where it goes. Because if you push too hard, that's where it starts to not be fun.
Yeah, and you struggle. Sometimes you
Mhm.
struggle because you're forcing something that's just not you say natural, it's the story, but it's just not natural in terms of that storyline. You're just trying to force it to go a certain way.
Hmm.
So was this the story that you had thought about a long time? Was this something you wrote before, or something that just came to you?
So it's kind of a mix of both. The story originally started kind of forming itself in my mind when I was about 14, but I was heavily discouraged from writing when I was a kid because I'm dyslexic. So I wrote all of this out and I was really proud of it. And I had like 20 pages down and I took it to my teacher and I was like, hey, look at this. Isn't this cool? And she read all of it and she was like, oh, wow, this is great. But there's like so many spelling errors and grammar stuff. You should probably never do this again, and threw it in the trash. So now as an adult, I'm like, you know what? It still lives rent free in my head. I still think about these things and I'm just going to do it. And then I did it and now we're here.
And it's one of the biggest things is support, right? And it's support
Mhm.
from a lot of different areas. The support of the book community, kind of like we have here on Book Talk and other socials, support of other authors, support of friends, family, or whatever. And that supports the main thing for everybody. And sometimes it's just a simple reinforcement or a simple word for somebody to keep going. That's all that's needed, right? And it's always very, I mean, I get angry when I hear things like that, when people just kind of shut it down, because it's ridiculous. Because really, the majority of us, I think, have so many spelling and grammar errors to begin with off the first draft that, I think everything all of us would write would be tossed away if you use that as the measuring stick for it, right? Because you're getting the story out. You're getting what you want to talk about out there, and then you fix everything later. So it's just a horrible thing when that happens, because support, even in the smallest fraction of a word here, or just say go for it or do it, is so important for everybody, and not just in writing, just in everyday life.
Yeah, I was pretty turned off on any of it really for a while. I didn't even contemplating writing again until I was adult. And I only started reading again when I think I was about 16 was when I started reading again.
Yeah.
But here we are, pushed through it, and I have a lot of wonderful people that support me. Some in real life and a lot online. There are quite a few that are in here right now. So just thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, I'm sure, like you said, you found is how supportive the book community is. It's kind of amazing. It really is amazing how much support, how much love, how much, just sharing and talking about your work and stuff everybody does with each other. It's a beautiful thing to see, because it's organically grown. It's not something that people consciously try to do. They just That's what the community is about. And I think one of the main things about that is we all know the struggle, right? We all know, most of us, I would say, a big part of the indie community work full time, and you do this on the side, and you're not really making any money. You make enough money maybe to put in towards bookmarks, or something you're trying to do. You're not really making any to do anything with your writing. So we all do it because we love it. And I think that's where the support comes from, because we all understand the struggle and the fact that we are doing this because it's something we love. And it's just, I've always appreciated it. That's why I try to do everything I can
Mhm.
with sharing other authors, try to do the interviews to get authors out there. But it's just a beautiful thing that I've noticed in the community.
It really is. There have been so many times in my life where I have felt like awkward or not welcome, but like the minute that I came into Book Talk, there was so much support everywhere that I turned. And the first indie author that actually ever talked to me, I don't know if she's in here, but it was Shelley Cypress. And I came across her on my For You page and I loved the way that her book looked and I followed her and then she followed me back and messaged me and she's like, hey, you seem like a great person and like go follow these people and like we're here to uplift you. And she's just such a good person, and then it just opened me up to this whole world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I love being part of it, because it really is just a special community, the way they all join together like that. So let's talk about your book first, before you begin talking about the story. And again, I never want any of the authors to share any more than they want to. So you give only what you're comfortable giving. But when is the book going to be available, or if it's available now, and when is the full release?
The full release is on June 22nd, so very soon, just
Okay.
a couple of weeks. My arcs are out right now. A couple of my arc readers, I can see them down in the comments. They're talking about it down there with each other. So far, I have really good feedback. If you like Shadow Daddies, I've got one for you. His name is Zen. He's pretty broody and also sassy and funny. um, I, like I said, I just have gotten a really lot of good feedback on it. I'm very excited about it. Originally, when I wrote this book, I actually didn't read it with the purpose of other people having it. I wrote it in the way that I saw and the way that I wanted it to be. So, and then my best friend that's in here, who's also my editor, Seneca, read it, and my husband read pieces of it, and a couple of my friends read it, and they were like, no, you need to do something with this. You need to take this more seriously. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's interesting too, is that's kind of the beauty of being an indie author when you do this, is that you can write it the way you want it to be written, right? The way you want the
Mhm.
story to be told. And you don't have to follow a certain way. It doesn't have to be written a certain way. And the beauty of it really is there's an audience out there for exactly the way you wrote your story, right? And the struggle for all of us, every one of the authors that's in there, you and me and everybody, is having that audience find our work and us finding that audience, right? And that's pretty much the struggle for us. Can we get those people that want to read the story the way wanted to write it together, right? And that's what we all struggle with. The marketing side is the most difficult part of this, is because you want to find that audience. But that's the beauty of doing this, is you can do it however you want. You can tell the story the way you want it to be told. You can tell a story the way you've appreciated stories being written, and in the fashion and in the way you come in with characters. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to do that, right? And do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah, I feel that pretty hard. It's very nice to be able to not have the pressure of like, okay, it has to be this because this was what was pitched and this is what it has to be, and you just, it just is what it is, and you get to write it how you want it and how you see it, and it doesn't have to be anybody else's vision.
Yeah. When your book does come out, you know, one of the things I always offer for everybody is tag me when you start posting stuff, because I want to share everybody's stuff to get it out there. Because I don't see everybody's things all the time. If I do, I share your work, but I don't get to. When you start going through your following and for you can't, right? I just can't see everything. So I'm always like, if when you start coming out with a book, tag me, and then I'll get it out there for you. I'll share it as well. And that goes for any of the socials. I'm on all of them. So if we follow each other, just tag me when your book comes out so we can get it out there so more people can see it.
That's awesome.
Well,
Also, my book will be on KU, so if you have that, it is very available too when it comes
okay,
out.
perfect. Perfect. And then, so why don't you tell us again, without giving away too much, tell us the story of the book, kind of give us a summary or synopsis about what the story is about.
Okay, I will do my best. It's very hard to summarize, as I'm sure that you know, just very
Yeah.
decisively what you've written. Um, it is a dual POV, like I said. It starts off with Celosia, which is the main female character. She is 19, about to turn 20, and she is basically stuck in the middle of this prophecy that has been following her for her whole life because of how she looks. Like, she hasn't had any kind of magic happen, nothing like that. It's simply because of how she looks and the timing of when she was born. And then it will switch back and forth between her and our main male character, which is Zen. He is a Fae. He lives on the other side of a main contention point in this book, which is a border separating them, and that also has to do with the prophecy. Like, Celosia's prophecy is that she is meant to break it, but some people don't want it broken, some people do, so that's a very high interest point for a lot of people. It creates a lot of stress in her life, and she just basically likes to hide away. um, if you would like, I can just read the back of the book too. Probably
Yeah,
make it
go ahead.
easier on both of
Yeah.
us. Um,
Go ahead.
and also, the trailer that's pinned in there is actually this blurb too on my profile.
Okay.
As Celosia approaches the pinnacle of a 178-year-old prophecy to bring magic back to her lands, dreams filled with a shadow swarm stranger become her nightly ritual. The more they meet, the less it feels like a coincidence. As the pull to the dreams, to him, increases, so does the immense power within Celosia, a power from long ago, and one he needs to destroy to remain in control of his own. Will Zen find her? Will he persuade her to stray from the God's written destiny within her soul, or sacrifice himself in hopes of keeping what she loves from harm's way? What will Zen choose, her or his kingdom?
And then just again, for anybody who missed it at the beginning, I'm going to download this live and I will load it up to my YouTube podcast channel and then again post the link for this. Danny, if you want, send me the. I'll post like your TikTok link so they can go and look at your trailer. And then I'll also post, if you want, send me your cover and I can put that on the link too. So when they see that, they'll be able to see that on the video and everything. So I can get all that together just so everything's kind of in that one link for everybody to see. Um, and before I ask the next question, again, there's a lot of authors in here that I may not know most of you, or you may not know me. If anybody's interested in doing these live interviews, definitely send me a message and let me know. Again, I want to share everybody's work and get it out there. So if anybody's interested in doing this, definitely send me a message later and let me know about this. For those of you that don't know, there's a couple other authors that we're discussing maybe doing a indie author support block party type of thing, because each of us do different things for authors, where each of us have a different way to support an author. One of them does what would you do based on somebody's book, where you get a choice. Another one does a character featurette where they talk about a specific character in the book, and it's all based off what the author suggests. But we may do a thing where one of us takes Monday, one takes Tuesday, one takes Wednesday, and maybe Friday I interview whatever author was focused that week, to kind of get, again, all of us out there, right? Get the indie authors out there. So if there's any interest in any of these things, message me, let me know. Danny, I can message you later and just kind of let you know about that too. If we start doing it, we have been discussing doing that. But again, any authors interested, please let me know. And you just message me if you're interested in doing a live. So one of the things I like to ask, especially when it's a fantasy writer or a sci-fi writer, is the world building side, right? So
Mhm.
when you take the time, you do all this effort to write the world. One of the questions I always like to ask is, this story may be a standalone and maybe multiple books. Hard to say, right? You sometimes really don't know right away, right? So I will stay away from that question. But one of the questions I like to ask is, since you spent all that time building the world, right, that you have in the background, would you use that world for other stories that are not necessarily related to this story, similar to like Marvel universe, the Star Wars universe, where that world is back there, but it's a completely different storyline, characters, everything.
I absolutely would. I love my world, and honestly, I know that a lot of people struggle with world building, but because the story has been in my brain for so long, it was very easy for me to world build. My tongue is not working all of a sudden. Sorry. um, I really liked it. I enjoy world building so far from my experience with it. It just came very naturally to me. I also write very, very close and very, very hard first person. So, like, if it is not in my character's brain and if they can't see it, you don't know anything about it. So, it's very much, there's no big narrating happening except for my character. So, that also, I think, made world building maybe a little bit easier because you're just
Mm-hmm.
describing what they think in their head. I don't. But I definitely would. And I'm actually currently right now working on a side, like a little novella for one of my side characters too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's another question I usually like to ask. And again, I only want you to share what you're comfortable sharing. But you're with this book right now. It's going to be released. You're going to be doing a lot of effort to get it out there, talk about it, and make sure it stays in front of everybody. But besides the little novella for the side character, are there other things you're working on? Because a lot of us sometimes have three, four different things we're doing at once. But
Yeah.
do you have other stuff planned, or do you have other things that you're working on? And again, don't give away anything you're not comfortable giving away.
Yes, book two is very much highly in production. I think if book two was not, I would have a lot of very angry ARC readers right now because my book does end on a cliffhanger. Um, if you do get the physical copy, though, which comes out on June 22nd, which is the release date, it does have a bonus chapter in the back. It doesn't give you answers to the cliffhanger, but it might make it feel a little bit better. But
And
yes.
do you have a planned, and again, planned is always in pencil. Do you have a planned release date that you're kind of aiming for, period wise, for book two?
Um, Not necessarily. I would like to get it out by the end of the year for sure. That is my main goal. I just don't want to try to rush or push myself right now. I'm so concentrated on book one. I'm about 35K words into book two, so part one of the book is done, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But hope my goal right now is just to get it out by the end of the year because
Okay.
like I said, I don't want it to feel rushed or pushed, and I just want it to happen the way that it needs to happen.
Yeah. Um, so I know you mentioned you write fantasy, you love reading fantasy. Are
Mhm.
there other genres that you read or that you do enjoy reading, even though fantasy is the primary?
Oh, I read pretty much everything. Like and a lot of the times when I am consuming copious amounts of fantasy, like I need a break. I will need that break and to go into something that is more familiar and that I don't have to, completely reconstruct a world in my head. So, like, contemporary stuff is really nice. I do also read horror novels. I know that's your main genre. Those are really fun.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of splatterpunks. They're like, I am all over the map.
Yeah. Again,
So,
for those
really
that don't know
everything.
me, my werewolf book is today. I think is the last day it's free for the ebook. So if you haven't got it,
Oh,
today's the day to go get it for free. I
yeah,
think
go
till
grab that.
midnight tonight. And then, so somebody I think Grace put romance if you would do that. But one of the reason I asked that question is you do read other stuff as well, and basically,
Yeah.
I would think almost every one of our books is multiple genres, right? You have your main genre, and then you have a bunch of things weaving in and out of it in terms of other genres, aspects of other genres in there. Is there a genre that at some point you may want to attempt to write, or dabble in terms of it could be a short novella or it could be a full series or a book?
Maybe like a contemporary thriller, I think would be really fun to write. Right now in book two, my main female character is not in the greatest brain space for obvious reasons. If you do read it, I will leave that, up in the air. And it is very interesting to be in her brain when she's in this place and trying to sort things out within herself and in the world. And it just very much made me think like maybe it would be fun to write like an actual like psychological thriller. So maybe that might be somewhere.
Okay. Um, One of the other questions I like to ask, and I usually always ask this from all the authors I interview, is it's very similar to a bucket list question, right? And what I like to ask is, in your career as an author, right? And you're younger, so it's going to be a lot longer than my career because I started a lot later. But in your career as an author, is there sort of a bucket list item that you want to make sure you accomplish? And that could be anything. It could be anything from a series you've always thought about to write and you just haven't been able to do it yet. It could be some authors have talked about doing screenplays or doing other stuff with their storylines, taking it a different direction. Is there something that, and maybe you haven't thought about it, but something maybe at some point you want to look back and say, I wish I would have done this as an author?
Maybe I don't really know about pushing it to screens or anything like that or writing a screenplay, mostly just like wanting to help people that could help it, I guess. I wouldn't say my book is a dark fantasy, but it definitely has dark themes and it goes over a lot of like real life struggles, like learning how to get over people pleasing and self confidence and things like that. Real real life things that people deal with. So if there is any way that anybody could stumble upon that and find any help in that or comfort, you know, that would be nice.
Yeah, and that's great. Do you think that's something you may carry through a lot of your stories, or you think it's just kind of the way this story took itself?
I mean, I think it depends on the character. I know for at least book two in my novella, there will be different themes that are around that. But I don't know about in the future. I have a loose idea of a different series that I would like to do, but I don't have anything written down or planned. It's just up here right now. So,
Yeah, I think we all know how that goes.
yeah.
That just floats around until we do something with it.
Yeah, I don't even know characters or plot. I just have an idea for the world. That's it. So, who knows?
And again, going back, I mean, we touched a little bit in in the beginning in terms of influences, right? Things that influences you for creatively when you're writing and stuff. And I know for me, my biggest influence was always horror movies, right? Just, I mean, I've watched from the old Universal classics all the way through. So I don't even know how many, 80 years of different, maybe more, 100 years of different types of horror movies and the different ways they do it. So a lot of the times when I write almost like it's doing the captions for a movie, right? The way I write is kind of as a scene would move through a movie as you're going through there. And that's a lot of my influence in terms of how I do the stories or how I go through them. Do you think there's, or have you noticed, is that there's something that you love or you've done in the past that's influenced some of your writing, maybe outside of just fantasy in general?
Um, I don't really know because I I like I said I read copious amounts of fantasy with breaks of other genres, and I also watch a lot of fantasy things. So like Lord of the Rings, love it. Loved Lord of the Rings since I was a kid, read all of the books, all of all of the things. What is it called? The Thrones?
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yes, Game of Thrones. I loved that. I haven't watched Bridgerton, but I know that's not fantasy, but people say that I need to watch that. I also enjoy very witty banter and very funny banter, which is why people say I should watch that. It's just kind of a lot of combination of things and just a lot of brain work.
Yeah. And it goes to, I mean, it's one of the biggest things that I've never understood the competition that some of the authors in the industry have, right? Which just makes no sense to me because every author's voice is different. It's always going to be different. It doesn't matter if two people are writing fantasy and somewhat of the same story. The voice is always going to be different for that reason because you have different influences. You have different things that you love, you've enjoyed, and it all goes into what your voice is. And there's no need for competition. It's never going to be the same story. It's never going to be written the same. It's never going to come out the same. It's just there's no need for that reason.
Yeah, it is always so fun to see other people's writing styles. It gives me so much joy when I find like a very original, very new voice, and that happens so often in the
Mhm.
indie world. Like I read my first trad published book for the first time in a while a couple days ago, and I was like, this is really great, but I miss my indies.
Yeah, because basically all of us do what we want, right? You do whatever you want, and you just take it any direction you want to do. It's very interesting. I don't remember which author I had interviewed, but he was traditionally published, and he was writing screenplays and stuff at the time. And he wrote a whole story, and he had to present it to some guy. He said that was like early 20s and just graduated, right? And he said he read it, but he's like he came back and told him, you know what, peacocks are hot right now. Can you put a peacock in the story? And the author was like, my story takes place in downtown Philadelphia. Where am I going to put a peacock in the story? And it just goes to sometimes they don't even they're not even reading it. They're just like what's trending right now to put it in there. And I don't even know if I could do that where you're just putting stuff in there to put it in there rather again than letting the story go. And that's not to say that every traditionally published story is like that, but those are some of the struggles you may have where you have little pushes of you need this or I need the character to do this or I need this in the story. And we don't have that problem, right? We don't have to do that. We can do whatever we want. We can kill off every character in the book and upset everybody, or we could take it a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so nice to know that you have total and creative freedom. You don't have yes men, you don't have to answer to anybody for your choices. My editor, like I said before, is also my best friend. She's very funny. And if there are particular characters in my book that she doesn't like, she'll do like find all and delete them for a second just to be funny and then put them back. But it's very nice to be able to just do what's in your brain and not have to worry about the consequences.
Yeah, it really, really is. Again, for those that have joined a little later, I will download this. So if you haven't seen the whole thing, I will download this. I will load it up to my YouTube podcast channel, and I will do another post where I'll link Danny to it, and it'll have a link to the YouTube channel so you can go back and watch this in its entirety, or catch up whatever you had missed, if you were able to catch some of this. So, going through again, you have kind of things that you're working on right now. You have your book coming out June 22nd.
Hmm.
You have possibly book two coming by the end of the year. We all know nothing's, written down in pen because things change all the time on that side. But do you have other stuff right now in the short term, immediate future that you're kind of thinking of doing or have planned within the next year or so? Much different than like kind of like your bucket list kind of question.
Um, no, not right now. I'm just very focused on this little series that I have, and I think as of right now it could change depending on how things go, obviously. But as of right now, my plan is to just have book one, book two, and then the novella, and then start maybe progressing in the direction of my other idea. But like I said, it's not even kind of fleshed out. So
Yeah.
right now it's just very heavily focused on Dreaming Among Shadows.
Okay. Um, do you have other socials that you want to promote? Are you primarily TikTok, or are there other ones on there that that you're on and share your work with?
I'm primarily on TikTok. I have all of the other socials. It's all officially Danny Burns, except for Goodreads. That's just Danny Burns.
Okay. Um, I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoyed getting your work out there, meeting the other authors that are, join the live and everything. And, I'd love to, when your book comes out, maybe we can do again a quick live and really get it out there and let everybody know that it's available. So if that works, we can always do that and really share it out there. Because I think we can do something on the screen where we can link it, or do something. I don't know. I'd have to figure it out. But I think we could do something where maybe we can put something, or a photo or something of your book up there for everybody to see it. But I really do appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure finally getting to talk to you like this, because a lot of time, most of us authors, it's a message here or there, or share here or there, but we never get to really talk or meet with anybody. And kind of the beauty of this, and why I love doing this, is the biggest thing for authors and the audience is the connection, right? The connection to your audience through the story, through you. And I've always felt that when they're able to meet the author, right, the person behind the name, the person behind the book, and they get to see your personality, why you wrote the story, why you write in general, and your influences, it really strengthens that connection for readers, right? So I always enjoy this, meeting all the other authors, and I enjoy getting you guys out there for that reason, because I always hope that connection gets stronger by doing this.
Yeah, definitely. We can definitely chit chat about that too, about doing a live or whatever. I'm totally open to that. So we can DM a little bit about that too.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And like I said, definitely tag me for the stuff for your book, share, and then I'll get it out there as well. And then again, any other authors in here, if you're interested, just message me, and I can figure out a schedule and see how to do that as well. But again, I want to thank you, Danny, for coming on. I really do appreciate you taking your time to come on the show. And I will tag you as soon as I download this, and we'll get it back out there again. So anybody that missed it, or anybody else you want to share it to, you're free to do anything with the video. I'll try to email you a link as well, so you could post it or do anything you want with it as well after that.
Yeah, Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who joined and watched, and talk to you later.